Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, December 3rd. Welcome into this week's episode of the Walkthrough Jam-Packed Show for everyone tonight. What are the biggest takeaways from South Carolina's narrow win at Clemson? Is Lenora Sellers the best quarterback in the country? And, of course, can South Carolina make the playoff? All of that after this break. Solo run tonight as I return from the Great White North. Should be a fun show. This is the Walkthrough coming at you right after this break.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for this week's episode of The Walkthrough, presented by the Chief Sports Network. And now, here's your host, Joe Macheca.
Yes, indeed. Welcome into it. This is the Walkthrough. I'm your host, Joe Macheca, back at it again. Another week, another walkthrough. So obviously we're doing this show after the college football playoff rankings. South Carolina funnels in at 14 in this week's college football playoff rankings. Obviously, you still need a little bit of work, but you were able to get the job done down there in Clemson, taking care of the first part of your battle towards college football playoff. So big things, obviously, to get ranked at 14, but that also means Ole Miss and Alabama are above you. Obviously, I think there's a lot of people within this fan base that think, the South Carolina team's been playing a lot better than Ole Miss and Alabama. I think you look at the 6-game win streak off the top of the bat, to get things started for South Carolina's playoff conversation. I think it's the biggest thing going for you right now. You're playing really, really, really good football. You're still in the boat with the 3 losses, but if you could have picked any teams to have the 3 losses to, I don't think you could have picked any better ones. And I think the committee, by ranking you above LSU, essentially states that the committee sees what has happened or what happened in that LSU game. Lenore Sellers was hurt. You're the guy that's been driving this 6-game win streak has been hurt. He's been dinged up. It's tough to win a game when Lenoris is out and banged up. So again, I think he's such a key part to that, and I think that's why the committee is devaluing this LSU loss. Right? They're not holding it against South Carolina as much. Now again, you got to look at the brands too. I think Lane Kiffin and Alabama, or Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, and then when you factor in the big brand that is Alabama. 2 hard brands to keep out of the college football playoff. I think, Alabama makes a more compelling case over South Carolina. But, if you look at, strength of schedule, South Carolina's 15, Bama's 16. Shout out to JP Hovey, our guy, for pointing that out. He's got a big, long guide on Twitter with the help. So, yeah, I know Ryan's not happy about it. Ryan Stoneacre, check it in. What a joke. Yeah, not happy. The Carolina faithful certainly not happy about this ranking, as I'm sure you can imagine. You still need a lot left. There's a lot left to do, in terms of ranking, shuffling, or you need a lot of people to lose. Now, granted, I think that, at this given time, I think LSU loses or SMU loses. They're out of the picture. They're up at 9. So, in a weird way, you're rooting for Clemson at this point in that ACC championship game, because right now SMU's in. And I think if they get blown out by Clemson, it might not be enough. But it very much could be. It just kind of depends. It really depends on, how bad of a loss this SMU loss is. Now, you look at, it's the brand thing. I did want to talk about this, the brand in college football. South Carolina, in terms of the national scope, this is kind of new money that they're playing with. They're playing with house money for sure. But it's new money in terms of, the national landscape and respect you have on your program versus the respect that Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and Alabama has. Now, granted, it's not Kalen DeBoer's Alabama that has all the respect, but it's what Saban has built, and it's the fact that he's still got a lot of players from the Saban era still in there. Jalen Milroe being one of them. And yes, they haven't played their best football as of late, but it's going to be hard for the committee to look at Alabama with the head-to-head against South Carolina and say that they're going to take one of the bigger brands in college football and keep them out. And if we're talking about the best teams in the country, I think South Carolina is one of them. Some of these Big Ten teams have jokes of schedules. Like Indiana has played nobody. I don't like they really haven't played anybody besides Ohio State. And then you factor in Penn State's another team where like the Big Ten has not played anybody. It's been Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and now that Oregon's in the Big Ten, it makes things a little different. But Ohio State's loss to Michigan should have been bad enough to kind of keep them out. But they're going to get in because they're Ohio State. But I'm more pointing the finger towards IU and Penn State here as teams that, they haven't played anybody, barely skated by. James Franklin's team up at Penn State hasn't. They barely beat or they barely lost to Ohio State, and now again that game got out of hand late. But it's crazy. And now we're sitting here talking up losses for South Carolina, but when you lost the only good game that you had on your schedule for Penn State, it doesn't make any sense to me. And yes, we're going to see this too. Continued into the next era of college football with the SEC being as powerful as it is. We're going to start to see, SEC teams lose out on the playoff like we're seeing right now with South Carolina because they played too hard of a schedule almost. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. John Braddock checking in. How about Ohio State losing to Michigan and Michigan fires their OC? Talk about having a standard of winning. Yeah, absolutely, John. And I'm sure if I remember correctly, or I'm at least guessing, the sentiment towards Michigan is not very good. Where I come from, back up in South Bend, there is no love for Michigan in that town. So I would think with this fan base, and at least from my eyes being a student here, there is no love for Michigan or Ohio State. They just eat up playoff spots after, being mediocre against bad teams. And so, yeah, I don't know. And that game got chipped at the end. But if Michigan can beat Ohio State like that, and it wasn't even in the big house, it was in the horseshoe, the other horseshoe. It's in the other horseshoe. You got blown out by Michigan in your home field. Drives me up the wall. And yet these Big Ten teams are getting all the love for playing essentially nobody. So I don't know. And I'm sure at Ohio State, there's a lot of people that aren't too happy. And Ohio State making the playoff is going to determine Ryan Day's job, in my opinion. But again, this is South Carolina show. That's enough of the Big Ten. We've been giving the Big Ten enough love tonight. But again, it's what it's going to come down to for me is that I don't think the committee wants to leave Alabama out when they beat South Carolina head-to-head, even though it was 2 points, even though Lenoir's was learning, and it's what started the winning streak and whatever, in my opinion. And so if you look at I've seen some tweets about the betting line as well. The betting line was down to like plus 500 for South Carolina to make the playoff earlier today. Well, as of 4 p.m. this afternoon, I checked it. It's back up to plus 900. I don't see a world where they let South Carolina jump Bama after they lost. It's brutal. It's tough. 4 wins versus the top 10 for South Carolina, or top 25 is huge. Big wins, at the time. And I think to this point, A&M's still probably your best win on the schedule. But then again, Notre Dame's sitting up there. A&M's still their best win. And granted, Notre Dame's looked like a more cohesive football team after Northern Illinois, but as they should have, not playing anybody. So I don't know. I think Georgia losing to Georgia Tech would have been huge. Huge break for South Carolina, certainly taking care of that one. And another case for, Ole Miss too. They beat Georgia. Georgia's sitting pretty right now. And I think for South Carolina's sake, you would have hoped Tennessee would have stumbled and bumbled down the stretch. But we're not seeing it. Tennessee's probably going to host, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, hosting Ohio State. That'd be fun. Little Friday night, Knoxville under the lights. John checking it again. Do we need Texas to beat Georgia and Clemson sucks to beat SMU to have the argument that we beat the ACC champion to get in? I guess transitive property, sure. Yeah, I think that's If you go that far with A&M beating or A&M lost to Texas, so it doesn't really necessarily matter. I don't think you can get it with the transitive property, anyways. But I think Clemson needs to blow out SMU. That's where the rooting guide should start, I think. And then from there, I guess Texas blowing out Georgia too. You're going to need a lot in this conference championship week. And then whoever wins is going to obviously get the pat on the back. And look, you won the conference championship. You deserve to be in, which again, also could come down to the wire with Clemson. If Clemson beats the brakes off of SMU and maybe the committee says, hey, this is enough. They lost in the conference championship game. They're still going to keep them in. I don't know. You just needed a couple of those ACC teams to have 3 losses. And, I don't know. Now, in terms of I'll get to a clip from Shane Beamer, talking about why, he thinks they should be in. And I'll get some thoughts on the other side of it real quick. But, Shane Beamer was talking about it at length after their win against Clemson. So here's Shane on what they think, or on what he thinks should happen with this whole college football playoff.
A spot in the 12-team playoff. To me, it's hard to. I get it. The committee has a really tough job. They have to choose the 12 best teams, but I get it. We got 3 losses. I understand that, but it's hard for me to sit there and say that we're not one of the 12 best teams in the country. When you look at our strength of schedule, when you look at our wins on the road, I think we're now 4-1 on the road this year in tough environments. We're not going and playing in front of 20,000 people on the road like some teams do in this country. We go into hostile environments every single week, and our only loss on the road is a 2-point loss. We talk about strength of schedule. I think today is our 4th top 25 win with, I believe, the 12th highest strength of schedule. So I get it. There's some very deserving teams out there, but if the committee's job is to pick the 12 best teams, you tell me. You tell me on Selection Sunday, everybody across the country, if South Carolina pops up in that bracket, I don't know of any team that would be excited about having to play this team the way that we're playing right now. That's what I judge it on.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's wrong. I really don't think Shane is wrong with that point there at the end. I don't think anyone wants to play South Carolina right now, which to me and all of the football purists in the world, put the best 12 teams in the playoff. For the love of God, put the best 12 teams in the playoff. Now, unfortunately, I think Alabama makes a case for that. Ole Miss, the way that Ole Miss played South Carolina and the injuries and the massive up and down injury report that Lane Kiffin had before he came to South Carolina, and being able to stall out momentum with guys going down and getting over the sideline going, it's BS. I don't know about all that. So now if you put the 12 best teams in the playoff, I think South Carolina makes it. I think SMU's out. And then, again, you factor out Ole Miss. Arizona State's probably got to make it too, which is another domino you have to fall there. So I don't know. If you put Alabama in, there's one less spot. And so I don't know. But Shane's point for the record on the road, pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. You're going to have to be on the road for this playoff game, but I don't know. It might be one of those things where the committee just saves a team a heartbreaking, first college football playoff game. I don't know. I agree with the man. The way that this football team is playing, especially after, Wofford was Wofford, right? They did exactly what they needed to do, right? Checked all the boxes. My guy, Jamie Bradford, talking about before Wofford, how it was an important week before Clemson. Check every box, make sure, it feels routine to you, because you're going to go into a bleep storm up there in Clemson. Like, it's not going to be a fun atmosphere. And it's always a gritty game too. And I'll get into the Clemson stuff here in a second. And just a full breakdown on that. But they came out, they came ready, they came prepared. And so I think, the team has proved that they can go wherever and win a football game. They're at the point in the season where, they're fully developed as a football team. And, if they make the playoff, they're going to give whoever it may be. I'm, manifesting a game back in South Bend, because I think that would be cool. But, I think whoever it may be is not a good matchup for whomever. Like, I think if Carolina makes a playoff, that first round game is going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight. I wanted to get into Lenore's Sellers here a little bit too. Shane was talking about how good Lenore Sellers was against Clemson, number one, but also how he needs a little bit more respect in the national eye. Here's Shane.
People that vote on the Heisman, if you're not voting for that guy in the mix for the Heisman Trophy, you're out of your minds. Like, name a player in the country that's done more than that kid has this year, particularly today. In the environments that he's done it in the moments that he's done it in. I mean, he put our team on his back today. And we talked at halftime that Clemson had played a great first half, and a lot of their guys had made a lot of individual plays, and that we needed our guys. Like, best players needed to step up and make plays, and that kid sure as hell did. What a performance to be third and forever down there on that last drive, and him to do what he did. He's special.
3rd and 16 was the exact down and distance. I'm sure you guys have all seen the 3rd and 16, because obviously Lenore's wears 16. That's been one of the cooler graphics to come out of this game, is based on the play that he made. I was going to pull the video with Todd Ellis. Shout out to the guys, SF Cocking, I think it is, on YouTube, getting the radio broadcast over the game footage. It's unbelievable stuff. I was going to pull it for the show, but didn't necessarily get the clip in. But that's you can't ask for any more out of your quarterback at that point in the game. Down a score. You need a touchdown driving into your rival's territory. You get backed up because of a penalty, I believe, or just a sack, and you have the cojones to do that. 3rd and 16, scramble, juke out. I mean, so many people on your way to the end zone, and have the wherewithal to not necessarily cut it to the outside and dive for the pylon, but make that juke where he just stepped right in the end zone. It was unbelievable. And that's exactly what you want to see from your quarterback, freshman quarterback too. I mean, like the wherewithal of this kid, and that usually takes a couple years of developing to make that play. We saw it. I've been talking about it since after Alabama. We've seen, and it's been so evident, this kid's progression from game one up until Clemson and after Clemson is leaps and bounds. Like it takes some starters in the SEC 2-3 years sitting on the bench. I mean, you look at Carson Beck. Carson Beck's still developing. Barely had enough to get the job done between the hedges against Georgia Tech. Had the wherewithal to get the job done. To see that out of your true freshman quarterback, or redshirt freshman quarterback, I guess your freshman quarterback, is ridiculous. It's humongous stuff. It's a blank check, and now I've seen some evaluations for a couple $1 million. I think it's gonna wind up being more. But you give that guy a blank check. Shout out to Hillman Granahan for this line, but I mean, Superman is not from planet Krypton. He's from Florence. It's crazy. Lenore's finished the game 13 of 24, 164 yards through the air, and then get this: 16 carries, 166 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground in enemy territory, in Death Valley, right? Death Valley, where dreams go to die, right? Absolutely humongous stuff from Sellers in that win. And, was able to give Coach Shane Beamer, keep the 50-50 streak alive, right? He's been trading blows with Dabo. For some reason, rivalry week is not won at home, because the last couple of years it's been trading blows. Dabo come here and take the win, and Shane goes right up the road to Clemson, takes it right back. So Lenore Sellers, again, like Shane said, put the team on his back. And now shout out to Demetrius Knight, who was also all over that football game, had his paws all over that football game. I tell you what, that pick at the end was, just it was a breath of fresh air. You still weren't going to win the turnover battle with the fumbles that South Carolina had. But after the game, just as it was, just back and forth, turnovers, you're shooting yourself in the foot, like Shane said, all game long, shooting yourself in the foot, and to have an aha moment at the end, just in one big exhale, taking it into your own hands, not letting the kicker, Clemson's kicker, they probably would have tied the game at that point, right? Dabo decided to throw the ball, and Demetrius Knight made a play, man. It's crazy. You would think, because Dabo's got 2 plays left at that point, right? Driving on the field, 2 plays left. It's like, oh no, here we go again. And then Demetrius Knight makes a play. It's been like that for the South Carolina defense. And, Clayton White being a semifinalist for the Broyles Award I believe it's a Broyles Award, best top assistant in college football. Well-deserved, right? These are the games. These are the winning streaks that take Clayton White into head coaching conversations, right? It's unbelievable. It really is, really good stuff from the South Carolina defense. A complete 180 from where you were last year. And now you have a lot of depth coming up, developing a lot of depth as well. And so it's just one of those things where, it's really good to see the defense playing well at this point in the year. You need it to. And regardless, if you make the playoff, obviously even better to have your defense playing as well as it is. It was bend, don't break mentality out there. And, the defense stood on their head. When it was time to bend and not break, they did it. This defense is clutch. It's very often, or it's not very often when you find a defense that has the clutch gene, right? And we've seen it on both sides of the ball here too, because in that Missouri game, there's not much you can do for that Luther Burden one-handed catch, and then he breaks off on it. What a throw by Brady Cook! We've been over that. Offense found its clutch gene in that Missouri game. Defense saw a little bit of it against A&M. When you needed it the most in that second half, they brought the belt out, man, against A&M. Clemson got it done when you needed them the most, right? There was, I'm sure, lots of doubt. This game was not one of those never any doubt moments, but this defense, Demetrius Knight, this defensive line, Kyle Kennard, Dylan Stewart getting pressure, Boogie, TJ on the interior, really unbelievable stuff from this defense. It was fantastic on Saturday. Again, I'm sure there was a lot that they think they can, improve on, get better at for the bowl game or whatnot, but just hat tip to this defense and everything Clayton White and Sterling Lucas and Travion Robertson and Torian Gray have been able to accomplish, and everybody on that defensive staff doing a full 180 from last year. It's huge, absolutely huge. I'm going to take a quick commercial break real quick, have some final thoughts on the other side, but, did want to talk more about what's next, right? You've got opt-outs. You've got signing day on Wednesday or tomorrow, signing day coming up tomorrow. So that's big. We can run through a couple recruiting class stuff, tie it up on the other side of it as well. But this is the walkthrough. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll see you on the other side of this break.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
ProsMidlandsSC.com.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and What we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case.
Nice.
So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth. And, we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Again, for making this show possible. Really, really, really good show tonight. Talked a bunch rankings, breaking down Clemson, all that stuff. Did want to talk about this incoming class here for South Carolina 2025, right? Signing day being tomorrow. And I know a lot of guys are going to delay and do some stuff with that. But taking a quick look at this signing class, Malik Clark headlines it. Speedster out of Rock Hill, 6'2.5", 183, ranked 125 nationally according to 24/7. Malik Clark's the big pull out of this class. And again, it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can adjust or how quickly he can work his way into the rotation. This wide receiver room is full of young dogs. Anybody can make their name for it. I think Malik Clark's going to be one of those guys. My sleeper in this class is going to be Anthony Addison. I think Anthony Addison's got length, 6'3", 210. Sterling Lucas is going to take some weight off or put some weight on him a little bit, get him up to like 130s-ish. But a lot of length, really athletic kid coming off the edge. Can be my sleeper. But also, I think it's cool. You finally get Jaden Puppy Sellers in. Finally gets to play with his brother. It's about darn time this has happened. His brother is his home. So that's, one of the bigger, nods in this 2025 class. And I know people are looking for more of a splash here towards down the stretch, but honestly, I don't know if they're going to get it. I think, Carolina's going to try to look in the portal a lot more here to try to backfill some of the depth. And then also, you're working on one heck of a class in 2026. You got a lot of guys that can really go for you in 26. So this 2025 class is still ranked in the top 25. You're ranked at 23 according to 24/7 Sports. So I don't think there's any reason to worry about this class of 2025. It's not as much as people would have liked at this point, but it's still something. You're still getting a top 25 class out of Shane Beamer in this coaching staff. Steven checking in. This playoff committee is a big joke. Yeah, I'm sure that's how a lot of Gamecock fans feel after tonight. Still at 14. Not much movement there from the Gamecocks in that playoff rankings. So again, you need a lot to happen. You're on the outside looking in right now because of head-to-head. I cannot imagine a world where this committee says no to Alabama with a head-to-head win over South Carolina. As good as you have played down the stretch, it is not, a guaranteed by any means for South Carolina to get in. So yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure we will have the Rooster Rant this Sunday. I believe it will be coming to you a little bit earlier, 6:00, something like that. To recap some football talk, all that. I believe the final playoff rankings are coming out on Sunday too. So we'll have all that. I will also have, full breakdown of the college football playoff and some portal stuff as well. Coming at you live next week. Should have a guest as well, so should be a whole lot of fun coming in. I will have you guys, I believe, 7:00 next week. So it should be a whole lot of fun. Again, appreciate everyone tuning into this week's edition of the Walkthrough. I've been your host, Joe Macheca. Again, tune into the Rooster Rant every Sunday, 6:00. Wrap up your week of Gamecock football with Matt Anderson and Alex Jones and myself. So again, appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday.